Hello and welcome to the show. This week's FailRace versus the community was B-class Swedish tanks, so many a Volvo and Saab. The first race is at the Catalunya national circuit. The first corner here is always very tricky, especially when you're in the middle of a pack of cars. I tried to brake a little bit early, let everybody sort themselves out. There's a few cars running a little bit wide. And then kind of a bit of chaos ensues behind. There was no major crashes at the first corner, which is always good. It's quite rare actually around here. There is a 242 turbo gets spun around further back, but that was the only major incident on this opening lap, which is a surprise. That first corner is really not very nice. The reason why it is such a pain is that the track is slightly downhill. The further back you start in the order, you just can't see the car. If you're in the middle of the crowd of cars, you just can't see the corner, sorry. It's absolutely unsighted and there's no braking boards to help you with like reference where the corner is. So you have to put a lot of faith in everybody around you to get things right. So you can have very nasty crashes in that. Up in front of me, there was a bit of a, try and fit 4 cars in one space on the track doesn't work. And a few cars pinged off, but we're racing blooming Volvos and Saabs. Very little damage was done in all of that. As we come up towards the final part of the lap, this last kind of chicane-y tight twisty bit is a real nightmare because you basically end up following the car in front of you, and because it's very narrow, if you're trying to like give each other space, there's often the kind of the cases that you will jump across the corner to avoid running into somebody. So you will see a few cars will take a few liberties through there. I'm guilty of that. Everybody, I think, pretty much has done that at some point on this track. Not deliberately to kind of gain advantage necessarily, but it is sometimes just to avoid running into somebody. As we come up towards the first corner, this 99 turbo was significantly faster. In fact, everything was blooming faster than me. I tried to have a dive. It didn't quite pay off. Outbrake myself a little bit. It was worth a try. It had to give a go. Otherwise, well, I knew I was lost that place. I was never going to be able to defend against that. As we come up towards the top of the hill, it's a very brave move to go up the inside of somebody there. It's rare you get 2 cars wide through there because it's such a fast corner. There's no room for error. These guys just about gave each other enough room. I think there's a little bit of paint swapping going on, but there was nothing major. As we come up towards the hairpin, I then have a lunge at the Volvo S60, I think that is. The 242 tries to follow me. Wasn't quite far enough alongside. This is the battle for the lead. Early on, we have a Volvo C30 that was leading the race, and there was another 99 turbo that was trying to put pressure on him, trying to find a way past. I think these 99 turbos did suit this track quite well. They were fairly fast in a straight line, but they also had very good handling. As we come up towards the first corner, again, there's a little bit of scraping. They just about get past behind. There's another gaggle of cars all flowing through there. The opening laps were pretty exciting. They were pretty close here. Another 99 is making its way past the C30. He's going to have another move. He's got the move done just before they get to the corner. That's really what you want to do. You don't want to be going too wide through the top of that corner. I'm now trying to have a look. Don't really want to go too wide. I back out of it in the end. You can fit 2 cars wide through that chicane. We have done in the past. It's not, and you don't want to do it unless unless you're very brave. It is very rare that it actually works out. I tried to have a look at the inside of the hairpin, but he defended well. However, I managed to get the inside for one of the corners, but I had to go around the outside. Luckily, he got a little bit too much sort of sidewaysness. There we go. That's a new word for you today. And I managed to get the move done behind us. There's a Volvo 242 and the S60 are battling away. I believe that S60 is actually standard. The guy didn't have time to build a car or whatever and just use one from the garage. So it's doing a blooming good job to keep up with all of us in our kind of highly modified cars. There was good racing throughout the field, actually. This is towards the back. There's only 13 cars in this race because of connection issues. The lag wasn't actually too bad in this entire kind of afternoon, evening, depending on where you're from. It wasn't too bad lag, but we did have a couple of issues getting people connected, so we only ran with 13 in this first race. Now, a recurring theme, I think, from these few races that I learned is that straight line speed is so important. At least around these tracks, it was so important in trying to kind of overtake somebody in front of you. This 850R here is the quicker car. It's the quickest around a lap, and it is caught up to this 9.3 turbo quite quickly. However, it really struggled to find a way past because at the main overtaking spots, the end of the long straight and going into the hairpin, this bit here, it was just too far back because the 9.3 had too much straight line speed, and the rest of the course is quite hard to overtake. This 242 here, this is actually the car that got the fastest lap of the race. He wasn't sort of towards the front. I think he got caught up in an incident at the start. But yeah, you can see the difficulty in finding a way past somebody around these final few corners. There's just no braking zones. It barely has a bit of a look here, but there's not enough of a braking zone to really have a proper lunge. Now he does take a dive up the inside at the final chicane, and he does kind of jump this corner a little bit, but you could also argue that, you know, you're not sure if the 850R has actually seen you coming. Probably would he have given you enough room? It's one of that, I hate kind of trying to judge that final corner, because a case like that, you could go both ways. If he hadn't jumped the corner, he probably would have driven into the side of the 850R if the car hadn't realised he was there and if he was doing that. So yeah, it's a bit of a pain trying to judge on that final corner. Either way, it's pretty rare to have an overtake actually there. But anyway, he got past and there wasn't an accident, which is always a good thing. That chicane there is also pretty nasty. Most of the cars here will do it flat out, but you have to get that line absolutely spot on if you want to get it right, because otherwise you can have a big crash or end up in the sticky stuff that's even worse. Either way, the 242 turbo here got a little bit unlucky. I think he outbraked himself, tapped the back of the Volvo C30. He came off worse. Of course, not a huge amount of damage is done with any of these cars, but now he's fallen back behind the S60. He's trying to have a look into these final few corners. As I said, you're unlikely to pass here. You're not likely to go around the outside there either. In doing so, though, you end up slowing yourself down on the exit of the next part. Also, the S60 was kind of slightly in the way, and had the other 242 can have a dive up the inside at the final corner. And this guy runs a little bit wide, a little bit too much understeer. Not sure if this car's four-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive, what it is, but just ran a little bit too wide, ended up on the dirt. This is at the very front. It hadn't been too exciting, kind of like in the top three. These 99 turbos have gradually been getting closer to each other, and this is on the final lap. There wasn't like lots of overtaking, swapping places. They'd just kind of been following each other around for a while. I was trying to keep up, but just really couldn't. They had far too much straight line speed for me. I was just about okay in the corners, but nah, straight line speed, they were gone. So yeah, again, as I've said before, this final section, if you miss your chance at the hairpin, there's really no way you can overtake now. You can't get through there. Not normally, there's too small a braking zone. They're both going to jump the blooming corner through there. That's a little bit cheeky. No real advantage was gained though, so I don't really care. So yeah, it's hard to overtake around this track with very evenly matched cars. You want the better straight line speed. Personally, if I built a car better, you want to go for straight line speed at this circuit. It was very, very important, so you could actually stand a chance of overtaking at the end of the long straight, because the rest of the track is pretty fast and pretty scary. We move on next to Laguna Seca for race 2. The opening of this race is absolutely chaotic. I picked a car to follow for this bit, but it is so much going on. It was, yeah, pretty damn tricky. In the background there is a little bit of an incident. One of the Volvos, I think, moved over when it shouldn't have, and took out a couple of the Saabs. Yeah, the first corner is always pretty busy here. It's a fairly wide corner, so you often get people going 2-3 wide around it, which can cause issues. A few cars ended up on the dirt, but no major collisions again, which is always good. We then ended up going 5 wide at one point through here. That was very scary. I got completely boxed out on the outside. Somebody got a bad exit. I was stuck behind them. Yeah, I really didn't have a very good first lap. I think I was down in last by the end of that corner. I was in the wrong place at the wrong time and had to avoid everybody. So yeah, I lost out quite a lot. At the front though, they're all swapping places. There's lots of overtaking going on. An 850R leads at this point. There's quite a lot of 242 turbos all bunched together. So we come up towards, you're not going to fit too wide through here very often. And I think the 242 turbo had a slight coming together with the Saab. There's some more people going across the gravel. An 850R goes around a couple of cars. And then we go up towards the corkscrew. It's all very, very busy on this opening lap. Corkscrew, everybody is well behaved through the corkscrew, which I was surprised by. You often have instances with somebody locking their brakes or getting it wrong, but no, everybody was very well behaved through that bit. And 850R's getting a little bit squeezed. You don't want to be quite that wide if you can help it. I would suspect the Saab just didn't know he was there. We come up towards the next corner. You can overtake through here. It's a very fast corner. To try and overtake through, a little bit scary. The 242, sorry, having a dive up towards the final corner. Everybody's going in 2x2s as we go around this final bit. It's a pretty good overtaking track, Laguna Seca. There's plenty of corners you can overtake on. Again, though, straight line speed is pretty damn important here, as you'll see with this 242 against the C30. Gets a better drive out of the final corner, and it's just so much faster. You can cruise around the outside. And just about there we go. The C30 gets a little bit of a lock up there going into that first corner, and then the move is done. Yeah, it was a very exciting first lap. There's an 850 trying to have a bit of a look as well. There was so much going on in that first lap, and then into this second lap as well. Everybody is still really closely bunched up. I'm going to have a look at the point of view from this 850R. Now, this could possibly be overtake of the evening. There are two that are very close from this race. So we're going to go 3 wide at the end of this. No, you don't really want to be doing that. One of the 242s, or the 242, sorry, outbrakes himself, runs a little bit wide, and the 850 kind of ends up in the middle of the two of them and comes out the better of it. That's not a normal overtake. I wouldn't want to have my car in the middle of, of them two, because you never quite know when the car's going to come onto the track after outbraking himself, and the guy on the inside could always run wide. He gets away with it, runs a little bit wide on the next corner, but still, that's a pretty damn impressive overtake to get your car through that gap. Further back, I think I was in about 8th at this point. I was making kind of very little progress. I was having to defend like mad from this 99 turbo. Yeah, I really just had no straight line speed. This is a lesson to you all. When you build a car for this, make sure you compare it to other cars. Just because your car handles well doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be fast. Yeah, I was having to defend quite excessively through all of this, as you can see. I mean, my car wasn't that slow. It wasn't terrible, but it just wasn't keeping up with the cars at the front. As we come towards the final corner, I did have good handling. I think the guy in front locks up a little bit there. I can never tell because of lag. It could be a lag lock up. The way the car behaved in that, it does look like it did lock up a little bit. Now comes the terrifyingness of having 2 faster Saabs behind you, trying to find a way past. Yeah, this was quite scary. I knew there was a car on the inside. I couldn't quite see where the guy on the outside was. I just kind of knew he was roughly there. As we come up towards the first corner, I backed out of it a little bit and just thought, I'll let them sort themselves out. Amazingly, the guy on the outside goes around the pair of us. That was the other overtake of the evening, possibly. That's very impressive to go around there. So, yeah, guys, in the comment section, vote which one you think. As we come through the next corner, unfortunately, after the fantastic overtake, he just outbrakes himself a little bit, runs a bit wide onto the dirt. I then find myself on the inside for the next corner. I'm not sure if there was a touch there or if he went wide on his own. Either way, I've somehow come out of the better of all of that chaos, but even then, my car's not fast enough to hold these 99s off, and it won't be long before they catch up to me again. Where are we into the race? I can't even remember. There was so much action going on in this one, it's really hard to keep track. This is towards the front, I believe this is for 4th, 5th and 6th. The more modern cars really struggled in this race. Like my 9.3 Aero, okay, is a little bit old, kind of 2002, but the 9.3 turbos, the C30s, the C60, the S60, sorry, they all really struggled. I would guess it's probably just due to the lack of upgrade options. Like the C30 here starts in C class, it's like 3.7 something PI, whereas the 850Rs are D class and the 242s are E class, I think. I'm not sure, they might be D or E. And you just don't have as many upgrade options as you do with these other cars. Of course, the 850R here has got huge straight line speed, fairly straightforward past that one. Modern cars did struggle. The 850Rs, the 242s and the 99 turbos were probably the fastest cars overall in this evening. It didn't stop some of us with the more modern cars having to go. This C30 wasn't giving up so easily as he has a little bit of a dive. That's a pretty good overtake actually. He's a bit brave going in there. Not your usual overtaking spot, but it can be done there. As I said, I do like Laguna Seca. Most of the corners, if you're a bit brave, you can get an overtaking manoeuvre done through them. Although it's not going to be long before that C30 gets passed by the 850Rs again. This is towards the front now. This is on the penultimate lap. These three had pulled fairly clear of the rest of the field and were all bunched up, all very close together. It's possibly one of the most exciting finishes to a race that I've ever had, or I've ever seen, sorry. I wish I was involved in this. I mean, 9.3 Aero, too slow. But yeah, this is a fantastic finish. So, as we come on towards these next few corners, the leader is having to defend. I believe the white and blue Volvo had the fastest lap of the race, although all of these three were very, very evenly matched. Of course, as you're defending, you're going to start slowing yourself down, and in a train like this, it's actually very hard for the car in second. It's the worst place to be here because you've got to try and balance attacking the leader because you want to get past, but you've also got to be very careful of the guy in third, especially considering I believe the 242 turbo here is the fastest of these three in a straight line, which, as I've said before today, is quite advantageous when it comes to overtaking. So the leader again going very, very defensive into the first corner. However, he doesn't quite close the door, doesn't quite run out wide enough, and just leaves the car's width for him. There's very close, but he's just squeezed his way past, and he's now dropped down to second. We have a different leader. The 242 is still just sat there watching, waiting. If anybody makes a mistake, you're unlikely to pass through here. It's very fast in these cars. It's In fact, in some of these it's flat out, I believe, if they have enough grip to do it. Our new leader just runs a little bit wide, loses a little bit of momentum as they come onto the back straight. Not quite sure why he didn't stay defensive there. I think he was looking to do a little bit of a cutback to kind of defend. It hasn't worked though. They're now going to run side by side up the hill. As I've said at the start, you don't want to be going too wide through here, although they just about get away with it. I think the guy on the inside did end up cutting the corner a little bit. But yeah, if you give each other enough space, you can do that kind of thing. But yeah, I wouldn't want to be going too wide through there in particular, but it can be done. So you come towards the corkscrew, they're still all nose to sail, all still trying to find a way past each other. As I said, the guy in third has got the biggest advantage here. He's not worried. You can see in the background the car in fourth has been catching them out pretty much the entire last couple of laps because they've been slowing each other down. Again, there's more defensive driving going on here as they're all trying to find a way past the leader. You're going to run a little bit wide out of there, but that's fine. The next corner you'll be on the inside for again, as these goes heavily defensive. They both run a little bit wide this time. Now the 242 sees his opportunity to pounce, and there's a three-way drag race towards the finish line. 242 can't quite decide what way to go. There's a little bit of scraping, and they all finish very, very close together. It's an incredibly close finish between them lot. That's some very, very good driving. In the end, the white, blue and green 850R wins. The 242 comes second and the white and blue one comes third. In fourth, had been catching them quite, you can see him in shot now, had been catching them quite quickly in those last couple of laps. It was exciting. Final lap further back as well. I believe this is for 7th or 8th or something between an 850R and a 99 Turbo. It's a good overtake actually to go around the outside into that final corner. However, straight line speed, very important, as we will see now, as the 850R just has so much more speed. It doesn't matter that he lost the place coming into that corner. That is a very, very fast car. It's probably one of the fastest cars we had in a straight line there. And it is advantageous to have that. And you can see I was a fair way back from them. I had a pretty boring race actually in that one after the start. So we move on to the third and final race. This is at Nurburgring GP Short. I had swapped cars because I was fed up of my Saab. I was now driving an 850R from one of the state car races we've done. Somebody ended up on their roof and then there was a big incident at the start. Nurburgring, this track, I kind of like this track again. It's another track fairly good for overtaking. The first corner here, though, is a big problem, really. Me and the Saab that followed me, I'm not even sure of the Volvo behind us. Basically, we just hug the inside. You let everybody, because that's not the proper racing line. You don't really want to be hugging the inside through there. It's not an ideal racing line, but it does mean that if everybody's going to have it, if there's going to be an incident, it's going to be kind of away from you, because the incidences tend to happen kind of out wide. So that's what I do at the first corner, and I got away with it. However, everybody tries to fit at like one narrow point in that first corner. It's often comes together there. Also, you did see a car end up on its roof. That was just an unfortunate racing incident. There was a very, very fast starting Saab further back, and kind of as he got off the line, he was trying to go through a gap, and I believe the 242 was like hidden behind a slow starting 850R, and yeah, there was a nudge, and the car ended up on its side. Once it's going sideways on the grass, sorry, it's going to flip at those sorts of speed. There was quite a lot of good racing going on further back. This is a very big group of cars. Yeah, when you see a big group of cars like this, you know it's always going to end in tears somewhere, or it's likely to end in tears. Occasionally it doesn't, but it often does. You see this many cars all very, very close together as they go on to their second lap. One of the Volvos there gets a little bit sideways, and now they're going to try and go 3 and 4 wide down the main straight. Yeah, that's all very scary. I'm glad I wasn't in this. Again, you'll see straight line speed, hugely important at Nürburgring, at least. I say hugely important. When you're actually racing other people, straight line speed is really quite important for overtaking. It's very useful to have that car that's just a little bit faster. You can just get that little bit of advantage when you come down any of the long straights. It's very chaotic into the first corner again. This time they all get around it fairly cleanly. The Volvo that we're following here, you really don't want to be this far wide. I'm not sure if he locks a brake up or if he just outbrakes himself a little bit. It's not the ideal place to be right around the outside. You do have the advantage, you're going to be on the inside for the next corner. Unfortunately, the 850R there gets a little bit cheeky. Probably shouldn't have put his nose in there and spins one of the Volvos, which collects another one. Yeah, the problem is when everybody's racing that close together, okay, it's probably a little bit of a cheeky move by the estate car there, but when everybody's racing that close together, if somebody makes a tiny mistake, it's often going to affect more than one person. This is a little bit later on in the race, and there's still everybody was fairly close together. This is for, I think this is around 5th and 6th. Again, it's another demonstration of straight line speed versus handling. The 242 Turbo here, much quicker at a straight line, whereas the Saab is much quicker through the corners. The Saab is going to be faster over the course of the lap. The problem is it's really struggling to find a way past. You can see it's got so much more grip through the corners. It's going to get a better run out of this corner. Admittedly, it's run a little bit wide, but it just can't do anything about the Volvo, because the Volvo can just park itself on the inside for the next corner, and the Saab, it's very hard to go all the way around the outside. Ignore the slight brake locking up going on in some of these clips. Forza replays, I've explained this many times before, can be a little bit funny about sort of the brakes. I'm not sure if he might have actually genuinely locked the brakes up that time, as he runs a little bit wide. And again, here it looks like that is a genuine lockout, the way the car behaves. You can get past a car that's faster than you in a straight line if they make a mistake. That's one of the most useful things. When you're following something like that, you've just got to hope that they make a mistake, because that's the easiest way to get past them. Ignore the slightly flying magic-y Volvo. Yeah, lag hadn't played too much of an issue in this race, which had been good. The Volvo that was on its roof, we had been warning everybody for 4 laps that there was a Volvo there, and then still somebody managed to clip it. Yeah, it's an unfortunate thing, but you know, we tried to tell people to avoid it, but well. Yeah, lag hadn't been too much of an issue this race. We had a couple of problems getting people actually connected to the lobbies, but once we started the race, there hadn't been too many issues, apart from that flying Saab there. Slightly magic-y thing. Never mind, don't worry about that. Yeah, the racing further back was still very, very close. It's unusual to see this bigger a group. This is like halfway through the race as well, still all together. Of course, these are Volvos and Saabs, so they don't take very much damage. Either way, these 850Rs were really very hard to overtake. I would say these are probably the best car overall out of the evening. Of course, it does depend largely on how you build them, although the 850Rs did seem to have a very good sort of compromise between straight line speed and handling. The 99 Turbos, they were pretty good as well. Now, one issue that I did foresee for this track is that that curb there is notorious for rolling cars. That was I think this guy here did it twice in a row. Up until this point, we hadn't had any issues with any of that. It was a good save as well to keep the car on the road. Yeah, that curb's always an issue at Nurburgring. When you're running cars like these, race tyres, race suspension, it's always a possibility to roll them off these very, very large curbs. Up until this point, things had been going fairly smoothly though. There hadn't been too many issues. So yeah, it'd been fairly, well, apart from the guy that ended up on his roof at the start, but that's something completely different. Anyway, as the race progressed, I believe this is the final lap now. I had a fairly lonely, boring race in this one. The 850R was very, very quick. I believe I got fastest lap. Yeah. I think overall the 850R is probably the better car. I think the 242 is a little bit faster in a straight line if built. Well, it depends on how it's built, but I think the 242 is a bit faster in a straight line. The 99 Turbos were a little bit better through the corners. Overall, though, I think the 850R is the better car of the lot. It's a shame. I really like the handling on the 9.3 Aero, but it's just not competitive in B class. I don't know what it's like in different classes, but no, it's just not fast enough. Now, I did say that nobody had rolled, and nobody had rolled up, and well, apart from the guy on the grass. But yeah, we hadn't had too many issues with cars rolling, and then, well, one guy clips the wall going through the chicane. Well, okay, fair enough. And then this guy tries a very interesting overtake. He's not ever quite going to work, that one. Yeah, it's the big curves at Nurburgring. They can cause some problems. And of course, the 99 Turbos were always the one that were going to have issues, if anything did, with rollings. They're quite narrow, they're quite tall. So, yeah, it's not really a massive surprise. Anyway, that is it from last week's racing. It was really good fun, actually. I thoroughly enjoyed the 3 races. That race at Laguna Seca was incredibly exciting to watch. And even for me, that was like in the middle of kind of quite a way back, actually. I'd still had some very good racing. Even further back, there was lots of good battles going on today, which is what I like to see. Which is why we do sort of lower class racing a lot of the time. However, next week's race, or technically this week's race, it'll be in next week's video. I always get that blooming confused. The next FailRace versus the community, there we go, is going to be held on Thursday, the 19th of September, the day after my birthday. Yay! It will start at 7 PM British summertime as per normal, and we are going to be running Dodge Viper ACRs. We're going to be running them completely stock, absolutely no tuning, so everybody is going to have the exact same car. Should be interesting. Never run an S-Class race before in these versus the community. I tend to stick to the lower class cars, although you know I like the Viper, so yeah, we're going to run that. It should still be fairly good. They're very good handling cars, they're very easy to drive, so there shouldn't be too many issues, hopefully. If you wish to take part in it, then you can sign up on our forums. I'll put a link in the description. You go to the FailRace versus the community section. There'll be a bit in there for sign up, and that's how you sign up to take part in the events. We're doing it through the forums. I've said this many times, just because it's so much easier to keep track of everything on there, rather than any other system gets a bit too messy and complicated. If we do it on the forums, I could just have it all in one place, and much easier to invite people off that. Also, I apologise to anybody who wanted to take part in some of these races. I think we got everybody in for at least one, but connection issues, as per normal, can play a little bit of a part. So yeah, if you don't get in, then I'm sorry. I tried my best. It's just Forza servers don't always like connecting people. Anyway, that is it for today, guys. So thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.